contact with the Lions there when she was a senior in high school, and she handed out programs and helped serve the dinner at the Boisfort Lions Charter Night. That's her first contact with the Lions, and of course she is today. She is a retired elementary school teacher, and she is a member of right now of the Hazeldale Lions Club, but they moved from Boisfort to Vancouver in 1974, and she and her husband Ron joined the Hazeldale Lions, and at that time she joined the Hazeldale Lioness Club. She's held about every position there is in both clubs, as she's now a member of the Hazeldale Lions. She transferred there in 1994 when the charter members of the Lionesses disbanded. She changed over to the Lions Club. She is a Melvin Jones Fellow. She has worked her way through the ranks. She's a 3-year secretary from the cabinet for 19G. And she, I tell you, she is one of the easiest and nicest people to work with. She has kept me straight and narrow all year. Being a school teacher, you know, the old ruler on the back of the hand. My email list is about this long. All the things that she's guided me through. She's a great mentor, and I tell you, she's just a bit of pleasure to work with. So would you please all stand and give a Lions welcome for our district
None of this typing it in, and I know a past council chairperson who doesn't even type them in. He's driving down the road and he says to his phone, please dial such and such, and it dials it for him. He doesn't even have to dial. So those are things that we are starting to use, and they're coming more and more and faster and faster. And some of us still want to sit in meetings and take notes and spend a lot of time doing it. And the newer people coming into our clubs are not doing that. Like somebody said, somebody who was sitting by my son at the last meeting we were attending, said he was sitting there doing something on his crossword puzzle and he was listening, and I said to him, your mom's talking, you really should pay attention. He says, I am. And they do. They do 2 or 3 things at a time, and they know what's going on. My brain doesn't work that way. So we have all these technical things that we can use, and some of us use them and some of us don't. But they're a wonderful tool for getting a Lion message out. And we need to get our message out. And in Woodland, I'm sure that people know that there's a Lions Club. But if you walk down the street in Hazeldale and say something about Lions, somebody will say to you, I didn't know we had a Lions Club here. And there's 13 Lions Clubs in Clark County, and they don't know that. I'm sure that the Pioneers don't have that problem because they advertise themselves. They wear those yellow jackets with their logo on the back, and everybody knows when it's Pioneers doing a project that it's Pioneers. Hazeldale Club doesn't do that. So we're doing a project, and we all have mismatched shirts and whatever, and nobody really knows we're Lions. So we need to get our message out. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to use all the technology. There are Facebooks, and there are blogs, and there are bulletin boards, and there are the messaging things. Like our daughter today was messaging me. I was doing something, and her little sign came up on the side. Hi, Mom, how are you? So you type back and forth, and you send out your message. We can do that. We can do meetings that way. She does meetings and organizes meetings for people halfway across the country. And nobody ever sits down together and takes notes and does all of the things that make us feel comfortable when we do them. They do that with their texting. They text a message to somebody, and they text it back. She gets the whole thing arranged, the speakers, the place, the transportation, the whole thing, without ever having a sit-down meeting. And that's the way some of our younger members like to work. We have some in our club that sit there with their machines and type whatever they're wanting to do, because they do 2 or 3 things at once. We can use those to get our Lion message out too. If you have a Facebook, or you have friends on Facebook, or you have all of those other things, what a great way to tell the rest of the world what Lions are doing. You can use that to tell about sight. And we all have sight committees. We all do glasses for people who are not able to get glasses for themselves. We all do some corneas. There are a couple zones in this district that have sight committees and hearing committees where it's warehoused through one group. There are other areas where each club does its own sight and hearing, but we all do that. We all help people who need help with their vision and their hearing. We do a lot of other things with sight that maybe people don't know about. That's fairly well known. But we partnered with the Gates Foundation and did a measles initiative in Africa. If you were my age, you are my age, and you had measles when you were young, you know that you spent a very boring week in a dark room because measles affects the eyes. And that was how they prevented you from getting eye problems if you had measles. You had to spend a week in a darkened room, no books, no puzzles, no coloring. You were just there. They are doing this measles initiative in Africa. $1 provides one vaccination which saves one child from having measles. The Gates Foundation challenged Lions Club to raise $10 million, and they would then match it with $5 million, which meant that we would have 15 million children who were vaccinated against measles. And we raised our $10 million, and Gates matched it. And they chose Lions Club because Lions Club was named about 3 years ago, was named the best non-governmental relief agency in the world. Because we are accountable, because we can get into places where governments can't get in. Africa is one example. Because it does not go through the bureaucracy. If you have an emergency, if you have a hurricane or a tsunami or a flood, like we had here 5 years ago, it does not go through the government. The district governor for the affected area requests the funds from Lions International, and it comes to the district governor. It does not go through the state government or the county government. This fall, this district voted to sponsor an eye mission to the Philippines with Dr. Jim Wyrick from Aberdeen. We had to raise $6,300, and LCIF would match it with $6,300. We raised our $6,300, and the check for the other $6,300 came to me in my name. I had to transfer it to the eye mission people, and they used it. And now there is a sheet of accountability, and we have to fill it in. How many people did he treat? How much did it cost? Where did he get the medicine? The medicine was donated by Bauer Pharmaceutical Company. And then we have to send that in. So it shows that we were accountable. We did what we said we would do, and we did it with the funds that we were allotted. We need to let people know that, because they don't know that we're doing those things. He treated 2,000 people in 5 days in the Philippines, and he took glasses. You know, all of us recycle those glasses, and they go to Olympia, and they get checked and everything. He took many of those glasses with him and recycled those to people who had never been able to see. And he has a program, which I hope he's going to do at a conference about some of the people that he helped, because I was at their club meeting Monday night, and they showed slides from that mission, and you know, it makes your eyes water up because of the things that people can do and see that they have never been able to see before because they never had access to medical care. We also do a lot of things with the Washington State School for the Blind, and they have several programs going, several new programs using new technology. And one of the things that we're working on with them is what can Lions do to help families of preschoolers who are blind or visually impaired. And we are trying to figure out how we get the message to those families, because we know what we can do if we get the families to come to a meeting or come to an activity. We know what we can do as far as activities that are appropriate for that age group and for people with those eye problems. But we need to figure out how we're going to get people, because that is privileged information. You cannot just go to the school and say, I need this information, or to the eye doctor and say, I need this information, because that is privileged information. So we have to figure out how to get the message out. And one of the things we're talking about is put it on Facebook, send it out, because if 1 or 2 people see it, they'll spread the word around, and then we'll get people in, and we can do what we think we know how to do as far as working with blind and visually impaired preschoolers. Everybody else on this committee works with blind or visually impaired children, or is blind or visually impaired, and it mostly goes on my head, because I don't understand all those terms that they use. And I'm learning so much, because for one thing, I always thought algebra was fairly easy, although Stacy Walters tells me it isn't, but that's okay. But if you're trying to teach algebra to a blind student, it has all kinds of complications, which I didn't realize, because, you know, you think it. But in order to think it, you have to have been able to visualize it and to handle it and to do all those other previous things in math. And these children haven't been able to do that, so it takes special training to teach children, to teach high school children, how to do algebra. And the teacher who does this is, one, trained to work with the blind and visually impaired, and two, trained in math. And she is in Seattle, and she teaches the kids at the Washington State School for the Blind in Vancouver, because they have something called virtual classroom, where she is there. She can see what every child is doing on his or her particular machine, and if the person is having trouble with something, there's a button that he pushes to let the teacher know that he needs help, and the teacher can bring his screen up and see what's going on and explain it to that person. It's just amazing what technology does. And it's amazing how many people don't know that we have all that technology that we use. So get the word out. Let people know what Lions are doing. You all did walk and knock. That's another thing that many people don't know that Lions do. So put it out there. We have a member in Vancouver who is apparently much more time conscious than I am, because whenever he goes to do something, he puts it on his Facebook and sends it to his friends. But one of the things he does is say, I'm going out and we're going to have a walk-and-out meeting and we're going to talk about how we're going to get the bags printed this year. And he sends it out to all his friends. And maybe none of the 200 people is interested today, but maybe the next time he sends out about something about Lions, they'll say, oh yeah, that sounds good. Maybe I'll go to a meeting. Maybe I'll ask you more about that. So use your Facebook, use your social pages, let people know what we're doing. We have a new youth exchange program. We have a new youth exchange coordinator for our area, and he's working hard to get host families and also students who would like to go to other countries into the youth exchange program. And we have been sending emails back and forth all day trying to get this worked out. We have 4 students coming in from Japan in July, and they will need host families. So he's working on getting host families, and he's doing it not by calling up a whole bunch of people, but by sending out an email message that goes to lots of people so he can get some information back about that. We also have a new Leos Club. Actually, we have 2 new Leos Clubs and 2 more sort of getting there. And those people are all using their Facebooks. In fact, the one sponsored by Fort Vancouver started out to be a virtual club. They weren't going to have meetings. No, we're going to do this all by computer, all by our Facebook, all by our telephones and our texting. Well, they had so much fun meeting to get the thing organized to begin with that they're having meetings. So there went my lovely technology story. I can't point out that they are doing all this by technology, but they are doing a good job and they're doing a lot. They are about ready to charter. There is a group at the middle school in La Center that is about ready to charter. And the high school in La Center is now talking about maybe having a Leos Club. And Winlock is talking about it. If any of you met Bob Giardina when he was coming around with Mike Porter, the district governor, he was in a Leos Club a long time ago. He's all gung-ho about getting one started. So these people are all getting involved, and they're using their social medias to do a lot of their planning and a lot of their talking, even though they've decided that they really like being with each other in a room, so they have regular meetings. We do a lot for disaster relief. Does anybody else know that we do that? I mean, the Lions Club sent millions of dollars to Southeast Asia when they had the big tsunami, and millions of dollars to Japan when they had the tsunami, and to Katrina, and to the people who were hit by Hurricane Sandy this year, and even to the Voice Valley when we had the big flood 5 years ago. We had money from Lions Clubs International Foundation to help provide toothbrushes and those kinds of things, and to help provide food for the people who were affected by that flood. So Lions Club does a lot of things with a lot of money. But a lot of people don't know that, so we need to use our social media and send the word out so that people know that we're here and that we're doing all this. Our new president, Wayne Madden, has decided that people need to read. He and his wife are both former educators, They found information or evidence that says that 1/4 of the people in the world who are old enough to read are illiterate. And those people are not necessarily somewhere far away. We have some of those people in our communities. Unfortunately, we have some of them in our school systems, and we need to help out, he says. So he has proposed a reading action program where you have a lunch buddy and go read with that person once a week, or you might provide books for people who need books. We have a club that's providing magazines for nursing homes, which is a little different from what the mission started out to be, but they're finding a real need for magazines and reading materials at nursing homes. Ron and I are on the advisory committee at one of the elementary schools in Vancouver, and the lady who was running the meeting, last time we had a meeting, said she had a parent who came in, a mother who came in, who was all upset and in tears because her 3rd grade son brought home his science project for help, and she couldn't read well enough to help him. So she was really upset about that. And so one of the things we're talking about is how do you provide a volunteer reading program, because the school district doesn't have the funds and the insurance and there's all those technical things that they say they have to have in order to do this. So how do we get volunteer teachers to help parents who come in and volunteer to learn to read? So we're working on that because that's very important. It not only helps the mother help her child, it helps her read contracts, it helps her get a job, and it sets a good example for the child. If it's important for mom to come in and learn to read, then it's important for me to learn to read. So we're trying to work on that and trying to get something done along that line. We can do all of this with our social media. We can send the word out, we can get people involved, we can say, let's go do something. I don't know about your paper, but our paper has a list in it once a week of volunteer opportunities, things they need people to volunteer for. Come pull the invasive species out of the Ridgefield wildlife, or come plant native trees along the stream. You can do that without ever having to have a meeting. You get on your little texting device and you say, I'm going to go out to the Ridgefield wildlife at 10 o'clock Saturday morning. Bring your boots and bring your shovel and bring your gloves and come join me, and we're going to pull weeds for an hour. And you can have people come out and do that. It doesn't take a lot of doing if you use social media. There are always times when we need to get together. We need to sit down, we need to plan things, we need to make sure we're all on the same page. But there are a lot of things where we can do something with our social media and let the world know what we're doing and get a group together and get something done. So I'm proposing that people use social media more. We had a go-to meeting the other night. That's one of the newer, well, it's not brand new, but it's one of the newer things. One of the things we're beginning to feel comfortable with doing, let's put it that way. It's not one of those big scary things anymore. First Vice District Governor Steve has run a couple of those. Second Vice District Governor Kathy has run some of those, and she ran mine for me last night. She's braver than I am. But you have a message on your screen, and it says, click on this link, and then that brings up the screen of the person who's running the meeting. You can see the agenda, you can see pictures if there are pictures. You can all talk to each other, you can all share ideas, and nobody has to leave home. And I made this pitch to another club and said, you can sit there in your slippers and sip your coffee while you're doing it. And he said, does it have to be coffee? So whatever, as long as you don't have to drive, you can sip whatever you want. But it's one way to have a meeting and have more meetings without people driving. And one of the things I'm learning as district governor is it's a long ways from point A to point G for some of the clubs in this district. And I'm getting really kind of bored with that stretch of highway from I-5 to Chehalis and hang a left to go to Raymond, or I-5 to Centralia and hang a left to go to Aberdeen and Hoquiam. That's a long stretch of not very exciting road, and it gets tiring after a while just riding along it. So when we can have a go-to meeting and everybody can share ideas, and we don't have to make that long trip, it makes it much easier on everybody. We had 14 people on the call the other night, and we could all hear each other, we could all put in our ideas, we could all share what we wanted to share. So that's a possibility, and that's a way to run a board meeting. I mean, if your club wanted to do that for a board meeting, we would call Kathy Crawford, who is our information technology person for this year, or it will be our son Ryan next year. He's going to be information technology for, yes, for Lion Steve. So you would call that person who has the access to the GoToMeeting stuff and say, you know, we would like to have this kind of meeting on such and such a day at such and such a time, and they'll set it up for you. And it goes out to everybody's computers with the link. Everybody clicks on the link, and there you are at the meeting. So you can have more meetings with less time involved and get just as much thing done if you want to do that kind of meeting. There's also Skype and several other things, but we really haven't gotten that brave yet. But one of these days we probably will. And it's, you know, the technology is a learning experience. And whenever something goes wrong, and I say to my son, this won't work, he says, Mom, it's a process. You have to follow the process, because this machine doesn't make leaps of faith from here to there. You've got to go through all the steps. Which step did you leave out? I don't know. Okay, what was the last step? What was the next to the last step? Okay, here's where you didn't do whatever you needed to do. So now, put that in and follow the rest through, and it'll work just fine. And you know what? It does. But you've got to get used to doing step by step by step by step. And those of us who are used to pencil and paper don't necessarily do step by step. We start to write something and it reminds us of something else, so we put it in over here, and you don't do that with the computer. You have to follow the steps in order to get things to work right. And the same with the cameras, and the same with transferring the information from the camera to the computer. And it's so nice because now they've gotten to the point where there's this little tiny chip thing, and you take it out of the camera and put it in the computer, and it downloads all your pictures. You don't have to plug this in and plug that in and follow the right steps in order to get your pictures to download. But I did learn how to do that. He went off to college, and he said, it's all yours, Mom. We're going to have to take care of it. So he, you know, we put it all down in the order. He said, you've got to sit down and you've got to write down what to do. Number one, turn on the computer. I said, Ryan, I know that. Write it down. So we wrote down all these steps. I had 2.5 pages on one of those yellow legal pads of how to do all the things I needed to do. But after I'd done it for 3 or 4 months, you know, it just became natural to do it. And after I'd done it for about 6 months, if I made a mistake, I could sit and think about it and think, okay, now I got here by doing this, so I have to backtrack to there. So we really can do it. We really can use it. We need to use our technology, and we need to use it to get the word out about Lions, because this is the largest service organization in the world, and some people don't know they exist. We need to get our word out, because there's so many things we do, and there's so many more things that we could do if everybody just knew that we were here and joined us and helped us and asked for our help when they needed it. So use your technology, get out in your community, let Lions roll. Thank you. And one of the things you get to do as a district governor is hand out all the things that we're sending from International MD19. This one is a 20-year chevron for a person who has been a member of this club or a member of Lions for 20 years. Congratulations on completing 20 years as a Lion. Anniversaries help us note the milestones in our lives. They give us the opportunity to celebrate, commemorate, and reflect. It is the perfect opportunity to celebrate your accomplishments and look forward to plans for the future in a world of service. On behalf of 1.35 million Lions worldwide, I thank you for your dedicated service to create a better world. And this is for Lion Ron Wilkes.